T-minus 1 minute and counting. The Soyuz is now on internal power. Automatic launch sequencer has been activated, and the first umbilical tower will separate from the booster.
Vehicle to ground.
We're now less than a minute away from launch of the 23rd expedition crew to the International Space Station. T-minus 30 seconds.
Understood.
T-minus 15 seconds. The second umbilical tower moving away from the Soyuz.
Preliminary.
T-minus 3 seconds. 2,
Primary
1.
Liftoff.
Liftoff of Alexander Skvortsov, Tracy, Caldwell, Dyson, and Mikhail Kornienko beginning their journey to the International Space Station.
Going well.
Good pitch program according to flight controllers.
No issues.
The Soyuz is heading toward a link-up with the International Space Station 2 days from now.
Engines stage 1 and stage 2 operating nominally.
Good first stage performance. The Soyuz delivering 102 tons of thrust from its 4 boosters and single engine. The first stage of the Soyuz measures 68 feet in length and 24 feet in diameter, burning liquid fuel for the first 2 minutes and 6 seconds of flight.
T plus 50 seconds. Pressure in combustion chambers is nominal. Confirmed.
One minute, 10 seconds into the ascent of the Soyuz. Velocity is 1,100 miles an hour.
Fine. We're feeling fine. What's that rabbit? It's a ducky. Is that your mascot? That's an zero-G indicator. Okay. "100 seconds, structure nominal. Feeling fine." Bailout system jettison confirmed. Stage 1.
1 minute and 58 seconds. Jettison of 4 strap-on boosters. These have completed their job and have dropped away at an altitude of 28 statute miles. The Soyuz is now traveling at about 3,350 miles an hour.
Expecting fairing jettison. The weather is fine. We saw the separation, and we can see your trail. Okay, the fairing is being jettisoned right now.
2 minutes and 40 seconds into the mission. Escape tower and launch shroud jettison.
Fairing jettison confirmed. Right in the flight engineer's face. This is nose fairing jettison, not separation. A slight correction to your report.
We're at 3 minutes and 3 seconds, traveling at a speed of about 4,700 miles per hour.
80, everything is fine. 190.
Receiving in-cabin views of the Soyuz spacecraft. The Soyuz core stage is performing as advertised. The core stage of the Soyuz is 56 feet in length, 13.5 feet in diameter, and has a single engine with 4 fuel chambers, providing 96 tons of thrust for its 3 minutes and 28 seconds of operation.
Alexander, how is your number 3? Tracy.
These in-cabin views showing us a look at...
How's Tracy? Are we LOS? Tracy, how are you? How are you feeling? Alexander, do you read?
We're receiving live in-cabin views from the Soyuz TMA-18 spacecraft. We're looking now at Alexander Skvortsov in the lower right-hand portion of your screen, and in the center of your screen is Tracy Caldwell Dyson making her first ride in a Soyuz spacecraft.
Stage 2 separation confirmed.
We're now at 4 minutes 58 seconds into the flight. Core booster burns out and is separating at an altitude of 105 miles or 170 kilometers, and the third stage is igniting.
Utyosi, how do you read?
The core stage engine has now fulfilled its role for today and is dropping away, about 4 minutes of powered flight remaining. Soyuz is now being propelled by the single engine of the Soyuz's third stage. The engine's providing 30 tons of thrust and will burn for 4 minutes and 2 seconds.
Utyosi, this is launch control. How do you read? Utyosi.
Russian flight controllers working on communications link up with the Soyuz spacecraft, not unusual for this point in the flight.
Utyosi, this is launch director. Utyosi, this is launch director. Utyosi, this is launch director. Utyosi, we are getting a lot of noise. You're almost inaudible. Everything is fine. Everything is according to schedule. No issues. Utyosi, how do you read?
We're 7.5 minutes into the flight. The velocity of the Soyuz spacecraft now almost 13,500 miles an hour. We are continuing to receive live television pictures from inside the Soyuz capsule. This look at Alexander Skvortsov there in the lower portion of your screen, and Mikhail Kornienko in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Mission control in Moscow still trying to reach the crew, having quite a bit of static over the audio communication lines. Once the third stage delivers the Soyuz to orbit and the module is separated, a series of pre-programmed commands will be executed to prepare the Soyuz for orbital operations. These stored commands, called time tag commands, allow many of the Soyuz's systems to be automatically activated by onboard computers at precise times stored in the onboard computers.
Utyosi, how do you read? Expecting the separation flag. Monitoring for the separation flag. Separation confirmed.
We're now at 9 minutes and 14 seconds into the flight. We have confirmation of separation. The single liquid-fueled engine has shut down and dropped away at an altitude of about 125 statute miles. Third stage performing an avoidance maneuver by opening a valve in its liquid oxygen tank.
This is mission control. How do you read?
Soyuz capsule and crew inside now are safely in orbit, and the spacecraft is automatically executing its pre-programmed commands to deploy antennas and solar arrays.
Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow.
Soyuz is orbiting at an altitude of about 143 miles by 118 miles. That orbit will be raised systematically over the course of the next 2 days, placing it in close proximity to the International Space Station for the final rendezvous and docking set for 12:26 a.m. Central Time Sunday. Control of spacecraft from here on will be overseen from the Russian Mission Control Center in Kornenko outside of Moscow.
Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. How do you read? Utyosi, this is mission control. Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. How do you read? Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow.
We're now 11 minutes into the flight of the Soyuz, carrying the Expedition 23 remaining 3 crew members into orbit. Today and tomorrow, the engines are going to be fired 3 additional times to further raise the Soyuz's orbit to that of the station.
Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. How do you read? Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. Go ahead. This is Utyos 1. We couldn't hear you. You couldn't hear us for a long time. How was the separation flag? The separation was on time. Everything is nominal. The systems are nominal, and the vehicle is performing well. Did you send the ODR command? How copy? We copy all. How do you read? I can report the parameters. Pressure 816, 809. Engine compartment is 863. We have opened ODR. We have noise on the line. Could you please repeat your last? Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. How do you read? Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. Read you through interference. Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. How do you read? We read you through interference. Mission control, Moscow. We are right here. We are here. How do you read? Mission control, Moscow. This is Utyos 1. Read you loud and clear. How us? Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. How do you read? Utyosi, this is mission control, Moscow. We can read you loud and clear. How us?
Утесы, ЦУПа Москвы, как слышно нас?
Утесы, Mission Control Moscow, how do you read?
Слышим вас помехами.
Flight controllers at the Mission Control Center in Kornenko outside of Moscow continuing to work their way through some audio communications difficulties with the crew, continuing to refer to the spacecraft with the call sign of Cliff in Russian. Continuing to receive live downlink television pictures as the crew is now in orbit. At the lower portion of the screen here again is Commander Alexander Skvortsov with at the upper right-hand corner, Flight Engineer Mikhail Kornienko. Out of frame to the lower left is Flight Engineer Tracy Caldwell.
Утесы, ответьте, ЦУПа Москвы.
Утесы, this is Mission Control Moscow.
We are now 15 minutes and 17 seconds into the Soyuz flight to the International Space Station.
This is Mission Control Moscow. How do you read? Mission Control Moscow, this is Utesi. We read you loud and clear. How us? Transmission is operational. Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. We read you loud and clear. How us? Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. How do you read us? Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. How do you read? Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. How do you read? This is Moscow. Let's follow the contingency book, page 87, item 1. No comm to ground. That's Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. How do you read? Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. Sasha, we can see you. If you can hear me, please wave. Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. How do you read? Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. How do you read us? Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow. How do you read? This is 35, calling vehicle. 35 to vehicle, please respond. Let's go to another page. Moscow, this is Utesi. Read you loud and clear. How us? Mission Control Moscow. Mission Control Moscow, this is Utesi 1. Read you loud and clear. How us, Sasha? Mission Control Moscow, this is Utesi 1. Read you loud and clear. How us? Utesi, this is Mission Control Moscow.
Как принимаете нас?
Чтоб Москвы, я Утес-1, как меня?
Moscow, this is Utos 1. How do you read me? Read it loud and clear. How us?
Утес ответит СУПа Москвы.
Utosi, this is Mission Control Moscow. VHF, transmit. Utosi, this is Mission Control Moscow.
Утес ответит СУПа Москвы.
Utosi, this is Moscow. Please respond.
Заканчивается сеанс связи у кого?
We're running out of comm if you can hear me. The next compass is at 0837.
This is Mission Control Houston. The flight control team in Kharlov outside of Moscow clearly having some difficulty making audio communication with the Soyuz crew. They are doing well, as we can see by these live video pictures from inside the cabin. Commander Alexander Skvortsov, the lower portion, flight engineer Mikhail Kornienko in the upper right corner, and outside of frame, flight engineer Tracy Caldwell Dyson doing well aboard the Soyuz spacecraft as they launch today at 11:04 p.m. Central Time toward the International Space Station, getting ready to link up with the International Space Station's Expedition 23 crew of Commander Oleg Kotov and flight engineer Soichi Noguchi and T.J. Creamer.
Okay, let's proceed nominally. The next compass is at 0837. A reminder, be ready for motion control test number 1.
Communications with the spacecraft restored briefly as it moves out of ground station coverage over Russia, heading out on a southeasterly track over the Pacific Ocean. International Space Station currently orbiting over the Sinai Peninsula, the bridge between Africa and Saudi Arabia. We're now 21 minutes and 47 seconds into the flight of the Soyuz TMA-18 spacecraft, carrying 3 intrepid crew members to the International Space Station. This is Mission Control Houston, 24 minutes into the flight of the Soyuz spacecraft carrying Alexander Skvortsov, Mikhail Kornienko, and Tracy Caldwell Dyson. All systems aboard the spacecraft working well. It's temporarily out of communication through the ground stations in Russia. 2 days from now, a link up in space will take place high above Russia within sight of those ground tracking station. That docking, set for 12:26 a.m. Central Time on Sunday, is going to resume 6-person crew operations aboard the space station. Skvortsov, Caldwell, Dyson, and Kornienko in their 5-month stay as both Expedition 23 and 24 crew members will see the arrival of 3 Russian Progress resupply vehicles, 1 departure and 1 arrival of a Soyuz crew vehicle, the relocation of Soyuz TMA-18, and 3 space shuttle missions, including one that will bring a multi-purpose logistics module filled with science racks, and one that will bring the Rassvet Russian Mini Research Module 1 to the space station. In early June, Kotov, Noguchi, and Kremer will depart in their Soyuz TMA-17 vehicle, heading for a landing in Kazakhstan to complete their 5.5 months in orbit. Skvortsov, Caldwell, Dyson, and Kornienko will then transition to Expedition 24 and remain a 3-person crew on the station for 2 weeks until the arrival of Doug Wheelock, Shannon Walker, and Fyodor Yashikin aboard Soyuz TMA-19, bringing the station crew back to 6. In July, Caldwell, Dyson, and Wheelock will perform a U.S.-based spacewalk to outfit the Zarya module and a power, data, and grapple fixture that allow robotic arm operations from the Russian end of the station. And later, Kornienko and Yashikin will perform a Russian-based spacewalk to outfit the Russian Mini Research Module 1 and to replace a camera used for the docking of a future European automated transfer vehicle. With that, this will conclude our live coverage of the launch of the Expedition 23 crew 26 minutes after their launch. Video replays of the launch will be coming up next on NASA TV. Our launch day highlights will air in a video file no later than 1:30 a.m. Central Time today. Docking coverage on NASA television begins on Sunday at midnight Central Time from the Mission Control Center in Korlev, outside of Moscow, with docking set for 12:26 a.m. Central Time. And coming up less than a day after Soyuz docking, NASA TV will begin launch coverage of the STS-131 mission on April 5th at 12:15 a.m. Central Time, with the launch of Shuttle Discovery set for 5:21 a.m. Central. Until Sunday, the Soyuz TMA-18 is safely en route to the International Space Station, and this is Mission Control Houston.